I'll never forget that sound. Not birds. Not the flag rope tapping the pole. Not the coffee maker gurgling. It was a smug little beep from a key fob and the low growl of a Porsche easing into park. In my driveway. I stepped onto the porch with my mug. Steam curled in the cool air. A boy in mirrored sunglasses climbed out like he owned the sunrise. Gold chain. Fresh haircut. He glanced at my flag, then at me, then at my pickup, and shrugged. Not sorry. Not curious. He shut the door with one finger and strolled toward the gym like my home was a public lot. You forgot the part where you ask permission? I called. He didn't turn. Just held up a lazy wave. Back in an hour. Anger hit fast. Disbelief hit faster. I had a lumber delivery coming in 20 minutes and a trailer to hitch. I set my mug on the warm hood of my truck and stared at those glossy rims. My father used to say some fights come right up on your porch. You don't go looking for them. They find you and dared you to blink. I didn't blink. I went inside, grabbed my phone, and called the HOA, Connie. The manager put me on hold long enough for my coffee to go cold. When she came back, her voice sounded like a brochure. Parking enforcement is for common areas. Driveways are neighbor to neighbor. We encourage friendly resolutions. I don't know him, I said. He parked and walked away. Leave a friendly note, she said. Or call a tow. But the association discourages escalations. I kept it friendly. Wrote a calm note, private driveway. Please don't park here again. I tucked it under his wiper and tried to muscle my trailer by hand. My back hated it. My pride did too. I missed the delivery. Lost the morning. Spent lunch rubbing the ache out of my lower spine. Was watching for mirrored glasses. He came back around noon, skimmed the note with a smirk. Crushed it in his fist and tossed it onto my lawn. Not one look at me. He slid into the driver's seat and revved like he was doing me a favor by leaving. That night my neighbor, Martha, came by with a pie and a warning. That's Karen's boy, she said. New folks on Cedar Court. She writes letters about lawn edges. He thinks rules are for other people. I thanked her. I didn't need a name to know what I was facing. I've lived here long enough to spot trouble in designer sunglasses. Day 2. Same time. Same beep. Same stroll. I kept my voice level. You can't do that, I said. This isn't visitor parking. He smiled at his reflection in his phone. It's just an hour. It's my hour, I said. He walked on. That tight feeling rose in my chest. Not fear. It felt like someone walked into your kitchen without wiping their boots. Pure insult. I called the tow company. The dispatcher was polite. We can remove it if signage is posted and you have proof you control the driveway. We recommend notifying the HOA. So I posted a sign that afternoon. Big, clear letters, private drive, unauthorized vehicles will be towed at owner's expense. I emailed Connie photos, copied the board, printed everything and slid it into a folder labeled house. Then I sat on the porch with the flag and the crickets and thought about my father's old Chevy in this same driveway 30 years ago. No one would have blocked his truck. The neighborhood wouldn't have allowed it. Day 3, the Porsche returned. He didn't even glance at the sign. Last warning, I said. Next time I tow, do it, he said, grinning. My mom's on the board. He left before I could answer. I could have shouted. I didn't. I called the tow. 20 minutes later, a driver with forearms like fence posts checked the paperwork, checked the sign, and lifted the Porsche clean off the concrete. As the car rose, my pulse dropped. Not because I wanted to fight, because I was done being brushed aside at my own front door. The boy returned mid-morning to an empty driveway and a towing receipt taped to my door. He tore it in half and threw it at my steps. Then he filmed me with his phone. This is harassment, he said. You'll pay. No, I said. You will, and you'll pay the tow yard, swore and stormed off. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. A woman stood there with a clipboard and a tight smile. Blonde bob. Big sunglasses. A fixed idea of herself, Karen. I knew before she spoke. You've created an unsafe precedent, she said. As a board member, I advise you to stop. My son had a temporary need. You escalated. My driveway isn't your son's temporary need, I said. She peered past me into the hallway like she was measuring my life. You don't want to pick a fight with the board. Compliance can be complicated. My father taught me to be neighborly, I said. He also taught me about lines. There's one at the end of my driveway. Tell your son to respect it. Her smile thinned. We'll see. That night, the porch felt different. Same crickets, same flag. New promise under the boards. I'd let the first insult slide. Not the second. Not the third. Tomorrow, I decided I'd stop asking for respect and start requiring it. I slept fine until a sound woke me. Soft footsteps. A can clinking. I looked out. The boy stood under my sign with a spray can, painting over the letters. I opened the door. He bolted. I touched the wet paint and felt something settle inside. No more anger. Proof. The next morning I bought a camera. Wired it to the porch, aimed it at the drive, and tightened the last screw with my father's steady hand in my memory. The games were over. The next time he parked, I'd be ready. The camera caught him at 6:07 a.m. 2 days later. Sky still gray. He slid into my driveway like water finding the lowest point. Killed the engine before the garage light across the street flicked on. He read my fresh sign, laughed, walked away with music so loud the porch mic picked up a faint beat. I saved the clip, emailed it to Connie, copied the board. Subject line plain. Recurring parking on private property. Vandalism documented. No heat. Just facts. Connie replied at noon. Polite, distant. Thank you for the documentation. The board will add this to the next agenda. I wrote back. He parks tomorrow. Said so. This isn't an agenda item. It's trespass. There's no response. So I drove to the tow yard to shake the hand of the man who'd lifted the Porsche without fuss. His name was Jim. He greeted me like an old neighbor and poured coffee from a stained thermos. You're the guy with the sign, he said. That's me. I want this done right. Every time. We follow the book, he said. Clear sign. You're the owner. We're good. But fair warning, the kid tried to throw weight last time. Said his mom was HOA royalty. I know, I said. She stood on my steps and told me. Jim slid a sheet across the counter. Template notice. Put it under his wiper. Timestamp of photo. Shows due diligence. Then call us. On the way home, I stopped at the county clerk. Pulled my deed. Made copies. Added them to the folder. Justice isn't loud. It's patient. It stacks paper like cordwood and waits for the match. That evening, Martha waved from her mailbox. She's talking about you at the walking group, she said. Says you're hostile. I'm consistent, I said, and I'm done being a free parking lot. You want a letter from the neighbors? She asked. Half the block has stories. Hold that thought, I said. If I need it, I'll ask. Dawn came clear and cool. I brewed coffee. Set my father's mug by the sink. Opened the camera app on the porch. At 6:03, the Porsche turned the corner. Rolled past the open visitor spots. Right into my drive. I walked down with Jim's notice, slid it under the wiper, snapped a photo with a time stamp. The boy glanced back from the sidewalk. Tow it, he grinned. Mom will have your sign pulled by Friday. Then this ends by Thursday, I said. He laughed. I called Jim. The truck arrived quiet. Younger tech this time. He checked the paperwork and the camera, lifted the Porsche smooth as rolling hay, handed me a receipt, tipped his cap. As the truck pulled away, the flag above me made that soft sound I love. I heard my father in it. Good, steady. Hold your line at noon, Connie called. The board received a complaint, she said. There's concern your sign violates aesthetic standards. The clubhouse uses the same color and font, I said. I understand. But there's a process. Connie, I said, calm but firm. I have video of your board member's son parking on my property after warnings. I have proof he vandalized my sign. 2 lawful tows, paid by him. If the board wants to talk font size, fine. But deal with the trespass first. She sighed. I wish you'd come to us first. I did. That afternoon, Karen returned. She didn't ring my bell. She stood at the bottom step, like the ground belonged to her. You owe my son a car, she said. The toe scratched the undercarriage. He owes me mornings I won't get back, I said. And he owes the tow yard for ignoring warnings. You think a camera makes you bulletproof? She said. We can fine you for sign size, placement, whatever we need. The board will vote. Do it, I said. While you vote, your son parks on my property. Put that to a real vote. Let the neighborhood speak. You are not the law, she said. No, I said. I'm the homeowner. That counts in this country. She left with a promise over her shoulder. We'll settle this. By Friday, the agenda went live on the HOA portal. My sign was on it. The trespass wasn't. I printed the page and slid it into the folder. Then I drafted a note to the neighborhoodlist.com, factual. A 1-minute clip of the boy parking. A shot of the sign. A timestamp. One question. If this was your driveway, what would you do? Replies poured in, cautious, supportive. Martha, happy to speak at the meeting. 2 doors down, he blocked our trash pickup last month. A nurse on the next street. He used my driveway to unload gym equipment. Never asked. I saved them all. Monday morning, a certified letter arrived. Remove the sign within 7 days or face fines. No mention of the Porsche. No mention of the vandalism. No mention of a board member's son using private property like a valet stand. I brewed a fresh pot. Set the mug down slow. Pulled out the folder and laid the papers like a story. Then I wrote one more letter to the county code office. Repeated trespass. Vandalism. Interference with ingress and egress. I attached clips and tow receipts. Kept the tone steady and plain. By the time the sun cleared the maple, the packet was sent. Something shifted inside me. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was building. The Porsche skipped Tuesday. Returned Wednesday, defiant. I placed the notice, photographed, called the tow. As the driver loaded the car, the boy came back around the corner, red-faced and loud. You can't touch my property. He shouted. You touched mine first, I said. 3 times, he lunged for the winch line. The driver stepped back. Don't do that, son, he said, calm as oak. You'll hurt yourself. Blue lights washed the morning. Someone had called, maybe Martha, maybe the nurse, maybe the good Lord himself. The officer watched the clips on my phone, took notes, and looked at the boy. You're trespassing, he said. Come back here and you'll be cited. Karen arrived mid-scene and tried to bend the conversation with her tight smile and clipboard tone. The officer didn't bend. He handed her a reference number and a warning. Told me to call if it happened again. It didn't happen again. Not like that. It got worse. Thursday night, the board met. I took a seat, second row. Folder on my lap. Father's flag pin on my collar. The room smelled like coffee and copier ink. Karen sat at the table, lips pressed thin. Connie read the agenda. Item 1. Signage compliance at 412 Cedar Court. My house. I raised my hand. Point of order. I submitted a documented complaint about trespass and vandalism. It isn't on the agenda. Connie glanced at Karen. We'll address it under new business, if time allows, Karen said. Time will allow, Martha called from the back. We came for it. Murmurs. Pete stood. My wife missed a shift because that boy blocked our driveway. This isn't about signs. It's about respect. The nurse lifted her hand. He used my driveway as a loading zone. The board tried to steer back to font sizes. The room wouldn't go. The officer who'd come on Wednesday had emailed a short note. I'd printed it. It confirmed a trespass warning. When Connie finally gave me the floor, I didn't give a speech. I laid out the folder, deed copy, photo of the posted sign, 3 time-stamped videos, 2 tow receipts, the agenda with my complaint missing, the certified sign letter. I kept my voice even. This isn't about a Porsche. It's about a line. Fine me for a sign if I'm wrong. But you can't police fonts and ignore trespass. Silence. Then a slow clap near the door. I don't love theatrics, but I understood the feeling. Folks were tired of selective rules. Karen's jaw worked. We aren't a court, she said. We manage standards. Standards start with fairness, Martha said. You're missing it. Connie looked at the papers, then at the faces in the room. Motion to table the sign item, she said softly. Another member seconded. Motion to open discussion on driveway trespass and refer to council. The vote carried. Karen voted no. It didn't matter. The room exhaled. I should have gone home and slept. Instead, I sat on my porch, flag rustling above me, staring at that slab of concrete that had become a battlefield. That's when I heard the engine, not the Porsche. Heavier, meaner. A flatbed rolled to a stop in front of my house. 2 men climbed down, one with a clipboard, one with a bolt cutter. Evening, the driver said. We're here to remove an unauthorized sign per board order. There is no order, I said. It was tabled, he shrugged. Work order from a board member. Name's Karen. Called Connie. No answer. I called the officer. He said he'd swing by. I asked the men to wait. They were polite, but on a clock. The flatbed reversed. The bolt cutter gleamed. The posts shuddered. Headlights swept the street. Another truck pulled in behind them. Tow yard logo on the door. Jim stepped out, took one look, and walked over. You need help, neighbor? He asked. I need time, I said. We'll get you more than that, he said. Then to the flatbed driver, loud enough for the street, you're removing a lawful notice on private property without the owner's consent. That's theft or vandalism, depending on the DA's mood. Wait for the officer and the board's counsel, or roll on. The driver wasn't a villain, just a man with a clipboard and bills to pay. He looked at the work order, looked at me, slid the bolt cutter back into the truck. We'll roll, he said. Call us if you really want it gone. They left. My legs went light, then steady. The officer arrived, took my statement, said he'd follow up with the HOA. Neighbors waved from porches. I waved back. The flag tapped the pole, soft and sure. By Friday morning, a letter went out from the HOA attorney. The board had not authorized any removal at 412 Cedar Court. A board member initiated an improper action. Apologies for the confusion. The association would adopt a policy for private driveway trespass and coordinate with police on enforcement. No name listed. It didn't need one. That afternoon, Jim called. Thought you'd want to know, he said. Kid's Porsche came in on a salvage ticket. Ignored a check engine light for months. Oil starved. Seized. Shop says repair isn't worth it. I brought donuts to the yard. We stood by the car. Pretty outside. Dead inside. I didn't smile. Justice doesn't need a parade. You asked for time, Jim said. You've got more than that? I got my mornings back, I said. He nodded toward the crusher. We're running it at 3. Sometimes it helps to watch a thing end. I stood behind the line as the machine lowered, heavy and sure. The Porsche folded. Glass popped. Steel groaned. When it was done, it didn't look like a trophy. It looked like a lesson. I drove home slow, parked in a clear driveway, walked up my porch steps and set my mug where the wood is smooth from years of hands and quiet. Maple leaves turned in the breeze. My father's flag made that small, strong sound. My phone buzzed. An email from Connie. The board accepted Karen's resignation. The new trespass policy would post next week, and for what it's worth, she apologized for not listening sooner. I stepped into the yard and ran my palm along the top of the sign. I thought about pulling it out now that the point was made. I left it not as a threat, as a boundary, clear and fair, the way good neighbors live. That evening, folks wandered by. Martha brought lemonade. Pete told a story about his dad and a pushy contractor. The nurse laughed about quiet mornings. We watched the sun slide down over tidy lawns and matching mailboxes. It looked like a postcard again. It felt better than it looked. It felt earned. Later I walked to the lake down the road. The water was still. Frogs talked. The highway hummed far away. For the first time in months, I wasn't bracing for the chirp of a key fob. The lake was calm. So was I. You can't force respect from someone who doesn't value it. You can live by your own, hold your ground kindly and firmly, and keep the proof. Have you faced an HOA like this? Share your story in the comments. I read every one. If you believe some fights are worth having, hit subscribe and let's stand up together.